Hey y'all, I'm Robbie Wheaton. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to give you the top 10 things you need to know about the Springfield Hellion before you buy one. Number one on my list with the Springfield Hellion is the compact size. This rifle has got a 16-inch barrel, half by 28 threaded muzzle, so you can swap out the muzzle device with pretty much anything that's out there. Be able to run different suppressors, or if you just want to run a dedicated muzzle brake on it, you've got that option. Half by 28 thread is very common, especially with the 5.56, so that is your common standard thread for that caliber. The overall length of this rifle is only about 28 inches, which is extremely short. I pulled out one of my AR pistols that I have with a 10.5-inch barrel. The stock collapsed all the way, and with the stock collapsed all the way, it measures about 28 inches as well. So your overall, just kind of give you an idea of how this rifle lays out, it's about the same overall length as a 10.5-inch barreled AR-15. In a very small compact package with a 16-inch barrel that you can still swap out your flash hider and stuff on. It's a pretty cool little rifle. Number two on my list is this rifle takes a lot of design cues from the HKG-36. The bolt is very similar, the bolt carrier group is very similar, that external design of the rifle itself is very similar, charging handle is similar. You've got some differences with the buttstock, the way that it collapses and things like that. But overall, internally, it is very similar to the HKG-36, including the price. And number three on my list is the bolt carrier assembly in this rifle. It's one of the things that it does have some similarities to the HKG-36, but it does have some significant differences as well. The biggest difference is the ability to be able to swap your ejection from the right side to the left side without any special tools or any additional parts. That everything's included with the rifle. It's as simple as reversing the bolt 180 degrees and putting the cam pin back in for the opposite side. Same cam pin, it just flips over. It can only be inserted one way, and once you put it in, it's super easy to reassemble. The ejection port on the rifle has a pinned closure, so the side that you're not using has like a retaining pin that holds it closed, so you can't get dirt or anything in it. You snap it closed, put the retaining pin in, and that holds that side closed and allows the opposite side that the ejector and extractor are facing, allows your rounds to eject out that side. So now let's walk through the process on how to swap the bolt from the right side to the left side, so for left-handed shooters. That way we can get the ejection path, the empty cases going out the left side of the gun. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do, make sure the rifle's on safe. The hammer's cocked. Next, we're going to start with the disassembly to be able to swap the bolt. First thing we're going to do is remove this rear pin. So if you've ever taken a HK-MP5 or HK-93 or 94 apart, the takedown on this rifle is very similar. You've got the same style takedown pins. We'll depress that. We'll pull that pin. Okay. Next, we're going to pull the buttstock off. And like I was saying, if you notice, the springs and everything are very similar to the MP5. We'll set those parts to the side for now. Next, we're going to remove our bolt assembly. So we'll cock our hammer, pull the bolt to the rear, and that's going to allow us to pull the bolt assembly out of the rifle. Now we can set our rifle to the side, so we're just going to be working on the bolt for a few minutes. So the first part we're going to remove is going to be this pin in the side here, and it does run all the way through. Small on this side, large on this side, so it only goes in one way. So we're going to take that pin out first. Make sure you retain the firing pin in the rear. It has a little latch here to help, but I like to put my finger over it just to make sure it doesn't come flying out. So we'll flip it over, we'll take our punch, push that pin out, finger stays over the back, and then we'll just remove that pin. Next, see the little latch lever here? We'll flip the little latch lever up, and that's going to allow our firing pin assembly and spring to just pull straight out. Now we've got our spring and our firing pin all together. We'll set that to the side as well. Here's where the magic happens. It's our groove. You see the little cam pin on the top? This is the cam pin right here. I'll move it back forward where it gets in a little better view for you. There we go. That little guy right there, that's the cam pin. That's the one we have to take off. So we're going to push the bolt all the way to the rear. Give her a little shake. Out it comes. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our bolt to where our extractor is to the right at 3 o'clock. This is the extractor. We've got it turned to 3 o'clock. The little round pin in the face here, that's our ejector. And this part here, that's the ejector. This is the extractor. We want our extractor coming off to the side. So you can see the cam pin, it's kind of an odd shaped little guy. This dog leg right here, when you reinstall it, is always going to face away from you. So it'll be facing out that way, and the flat part here on the back side will be facing back toward you. So let's see if we can get a good view of this thing going in. I'll use some pliers, see if I can show you how it drops in. Just like that. A little tappy. Make sure it's all the way in. Now we're ready to put our firing pin assembly back in. No, we're not, because I just pulled it out. Ha! Take that. So you can see the little lever here. That's where our firing pin's going to go in that hole. So we just slip that little guy in, flip the lever up. Push the firing pin all the way in. Next, we'll turn this over to the side. Drop our pin back in, give it a little press, make sure that it's flush or just slightly recessed. That's all there is to it with the bolt. The bolt's ready to go back in. Number 4 on my list is the ability to be able to fire the rifle from the right side or the left side in an emergency without swapping the ejection path. So as you can see, you've got a shell deflector here, but then you've also got a little shelf on top as a shell deflector as well. What these two do is they hit the case and it forces the case to come out in a downward pattern. And if you look at some of our video footage when we're at the range shooting, I shot the rifle quite a bit off my right shoulder with right side ejection, but then as well off my left shoulder with right side ejection, just to see if the cases would smack me in the face. I did have a couple of cases that touched my beard, but nothing that like threw back and whacked me in the face, which really kind of surprised me. I figured it was going to be more like trying to shoot an old M16A1 without a shell deflector on it, left-handed. The brass just bounces off of your face. Not the case at all with this one. It's really easy to shoot it with right side or left side, no matter what side the ejection port is on. And just know that, in certain positions, like if you're kneeling and stuff, you can get some brass that'll touch your face Standing, probably not. But you do have the ability to be able to shoot it right side or left side in an emergency without swapping the ejection path and without injuring yourself with the extracted and ejected cases. And number 5 on my list is recoil impulse. Let me explain a little bit about what I mean. The recoil impulse of this rifle is very, very soft. Due to the short throw bolt piston that it uses, it's got a really soft recoil impulse. The bolt is quite a bit heavier than what you would expect for a rifle like this, which also helps to absorb a lot of the recoil impulse. It's really, really soft shooting. It surprised me that a rifle of this size had a recoil impulse as soft as it does. So even without a muzzle brake, just a little 4-prong flash hider, the rifle had an extremely soft recoil impulse. So you take it out, you shoot it, the sights don't really lift off the target at all. They just kind of squiggle around a little bit. So this rifle with a muzzle brake on it or with a suppressor on it would be impressive to shoot. Number 6 on my list is bore center line. That bore center line is your center line of your bore to the center line of your sights on your rail. This one, with the rail being really high, you've got a really high bore center line, which is, to a lot of people, is a big detriment. You don't want your optic or your iron sights to be really far above your bore because of the offset for close-in shooting. This one with the iron sights, your bore center line is about 3.5 inches. With an optic mounted on the rifle, you're more like 5 inches. So that does create quite a bit of math that you have to do if you're doing any kind of close-in shooting with this rifle to make sure that you're still on target. So it's a big consideration for a lot of people. Some people not so much. Just kind of depending on your application with this firearm. Number 7 on my list are the integrated backup iron sights. Your front sight is adjustable for elevation with a little adjustment wheel, no special tools needed. I really like the front sight on this rifle. It comes up to a fine point, which makes precision shooting with iron sights. And I know some of you are like, precision shooting with iron sights? Yes, precision shooting with iron sights. Very obtainable with this rifle. Took it out, 100 yards, 5-shot group, under an inch with it, including the flyer that I had on the first round, where I yanked or wanked the trigger just because I wasn't used to it. But even with that, still had a sub-MOA 5-shot group at 100 yards. Really like the front sight. The rear sight has multiple apertures that you can choose from a large aperture all the way down to a really small aperture. There's 5 different apertures available, and it's just on a little click wheel. So you just spin the wheel and it clicks to your next smallest or next largest aperture. It's a pretty neat feature. And these sights are integrated in with the top rail. So you just push a button, fold them down out of the way, and they disappear into the rail. But they're always there if you need them. In number, the size of the hole, your peep sight decreases. So to give you a smaller, finer, more precise rear sight for taking longer range shots with this rifle. Pretty innovative design. The front sight of this rifle is pretty impressive as well. No special tools are needed to adjust it. You've got a knob at the bottom that allows you to dial for up and down for your elevation. So if you need to increase elevation, you'll dial it up, decrease elevation, dial it back the opposite direction. It's got an arrow to show you which way you need to turn the dial to be able to adjust for elevation. Really neat feature, really compact, super durable sights on this rifle. It's a very impressive design. Number 8 on my list is the weight of the rifle. The rifle comes in at about 8 pounds unloaded, which to me for a rifle of this size is pretty heavy. There's a lot going on with it, and I guess that contributes a lot to the weight of the rifle, but 8 pounds for a 28-inch rifle is pretty heavy, I think. Number 9 on my list is the trigger. The rifle comes from the factory with a 2-stage OEM trigger. It's not a great 2-stage trigger where you pull it at stages and then you get a nice clean break. The first stage does feel really good. You pull through the first stage and you do hit a wall, but once you hit that wall, you've got some spongy creep that the trigger slides across before it actually breaks. And then the reset on the trigger is quite long as well, which makes fast follow-up shots much more difficult. So overall, personally, I'm not very impressed with the trigger in the rifle, but on the flip side, compared to most of the other bullpups that are out there, it does have a better trigger from the factory than most of the other bullpups available. Number 10 on my list is accuracy and reliability. Accuracy with the little rifle really impressed me. Like I was talking about earlier, with the iron sights, sub 1-inch groups at 100 yards, and that was just with some M193 ammo. Accuracy really impressed. Reliability, not so much. Started off, I had just a mixed magazine of some different brands of 5.56 ammo, all 55 grain stuff, nothing heavier than 55, but just mixed manufacturers of 55 grain 5.56 ammo. And I did have some reliability issues. Failure to feed primarily. It would extract, it would eject, but the bolt just wouldn't come to the rear far enough to pick up the next round. And it was pretty common and ongoing for the first few magazines that we had these failure to feed rounds. I ended up swapping over to some XM193 ammo, and after I swapped to the XM193 ammo exclusively, my failure to feed issues did go away. I did check the gas piston on it, and we were running it in the N setting, which is normal, and not the S setting, the suppressed setting, just to ensure that we were getting full gas with the rifle. But we did have some reliability issues the first few magazines out of the rifle with the mixed bag of ammunition. So I can't give it 100% for reliability, but once we swapped ammo to a known brand, it did run 100% after that. So overall, I'm going to give the Springfield Hellion 4 out of 5 stars. And the reason I'm giving it only 4 stars are for several reasons. One, the high bore axis on the rifle can cause some issues in certain environments and situations. The trigger on the rifle is, in my opinion, substandard, especially for a $2,000 rifle. Yeah, I would really expect something a lot better. Reliability of the rifle was not 100%. We had some failure to feed issues with the rifle. With a mixed bag of ammunition, which really kind of surprised me. The controls on the rifle are not super user-friendly. The safety is in a weird location, the way that you engage and disengage the safety. Bolt release and mag release are kind of weird as well, being tucked in back up under your shoulder. Charging handle, I do like that. And then the price. Most of all, the price, being $2,000 for, honestly, a HKG 36 knockoff, in my personal opinion, I think is a little bit high. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe below. See you next time.
4 out of 5 that didn't hit me in the face.